That certainly was what they expected. It's not the way it worked out. Hoyer and Stidham last night, they just didn't have it. 10 points, 4 turnovers combined. Team had just 3 turnovers all season, entering with Cam Newton as their quarterback. The 4 turnovers in a single game, the most by the Patriots since Week 15 of 2012. So many different places to go here. I'm starting, Dan Graziano, with you. How is it, from what you understand, that the Patriots arrived at Brian Hoyer as their starter last night?
Green, he's been their backup all year. Jarrett Stidham hadn't even been active for any of the first 3 games. So they felt like Hoyer was the guy they could go to if things got dicey. He's the experienced guy. He knows their offense. And you mentioned they had the game where they wanted it. They want to keep it close and make the other team be the one that makes the mistakes. So Hoyer's the guy you think you can trust, but he was the one that ended up making the killer mistakes. And so obviously they went and switched to Stidham, who they think has a higher ceiling and may be the guy that gets to be the backup going forward. But disappointing night for Hoyer because he's supposed to be the guy, the reliable veteran who's steady, and they got the opposite.
Heavily. So Greg McElroy, talk me through this. You know quarterbacks, obviously, and you know Jarrett Stidham from his days in college. Were you surprised he wasn't the man out there last night?
I wasn't, because if you look at it, they gave plenty of opportunities to Brian Hoyer to potentially secure the game, and they were in it. And he continued to make bad decisions. I mean, interception was awful. The fumble in the red zone was absolutely terrible. It was eventually his undoing. And then the sack at the end of half, really, really bad performance. But guys, Stidham is not a long-term answer. I mean, this guy was a real natural thrower at Auburn and Baylor before that. But one thing he did not do a very good job of throughout the course of his college career was pocket presence. And if you look at the interception he threw late in the game on the overthrow, that was painfully late and severely underthrown. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Does Stidham have a higher ceiling than Brian Hoyer? Of course. But is that ceiling high at all relative to the likes of Cam Newton or somebody else? It's an elite starter or a maybe mid to average starter in the NFL? No, I think Stidham has a lot to prove, and I have major question marks about him.
Swagoo, let me come to you. As you were watching that game last night, was the same thought going through your mind as mine, which is, boy, Cam Newton's making himself a whole lot of money as we all sit here and watch this game?
Absolutely, G. I tweeted out Cam Newton should hold out after this week, especially in the New England franchise. Listen, I remember all of this talk about Jarrett Stidham is going to be the guy until Cam Newton proves. Man, please, we saw last night, not only does Cam Newton make this team better as far as the open of a playbook, but he also gives them more options, right? They had to play a vanilla game plan. You get into the red area, and we talking about Brian Hoyer, and absolutely those were some of the worst decisions I've seen a quarterback make. But think about all of the things at Josh McDaniels' disposal with Cam Newton as opposed to the guys that he had last night. At least they come away with 10 points in those 2 possessions. Cam Newton is getting in the end zone on one of them possessions, and we're talking about a totally different game. So it's clear now that Cam Newton, obviously within the New England franchise, is the guy, but it's clear to the rest of the league that you can keep playing about Cam Newton and not putting into the equation that he hadn't been healthy and think that he's a quarterback that you could just fly by the night. There were 31 other teams that decided not to sign Cam Newton. That's a joke, man.
It certainly looked like it last night. And Jeff, you made a good point as we were talking this morning, because you went up against those Patriot teams so many times about the way they wanted to win this game, and they had the chances, and in particular, that one call of in the grasp on Mahomes really turns the whole game around.
Yeah, there's no doubt. This is exactly what New England wanted to do. Irrespective of how poorly their quarterbacks are playing, it's a 6-3 game. The ball's on the 35-yard line of the Chiefs, and they get this call, and this is what they're doing. They get the interception. They get the turnover, and the play is overruled or blown dead by the referee. This is an absolute travesty. Now, listen, does the game change and they win? I have no idea, but you're taking away what the Patriots do well. I understand protecting quarterbacks. What I don't understand is How many times have we seen Patrick Mahomes and everybody else get grabbed and all of a sudden throw this little flick pass out and somebody takes it and runs 35 yards, whether it's Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce? There are so many opportunities in a game that the Patriots missed. This was not there. This was the referees missing. I'm going to tell you, from the Patriots game plan, it was playing as scripted. That was in the script. When they get that turnover, all of a sudden momentum changes. The referees blew that call. Really disappointed for them from that perspective, and disappointed that referees are helping decide games. I understand protecting quarterbacks. I understand they're the face of the league. This was not that moment to do that call.
It was astonishing, and it's not reviewable, and really does go a long way towards turning the game. Meanwhile, Dan Graziano, let me circle it back to you to sort of finish it here. What will we need? What has to happen between now and then for Cam Newton to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots again this coming weekend?
So he tested positive for COVID-19. If he is showing no symptoms, which is we understand to be the case, then he can't return until 5 days have passed since his positive test, and during those 5 days, he has tested negative twice, 24 hours apart. So if he tested positive Friday, then Wednesday would be tomorrow would be the soonest that he could do it, maybe Thursday. So they should have some answer tomorrow in terms of whether he's able to get back on the field. If he's not, they start to make a game plan around, at this point, probably Stidham for the Broncos this weekend.
Yes, and had they made a game plan around Stidham for this week, it might have looked different. Remember, they spent all week preparing to play this game with Cam Newton. They were facing almost impossible circumstances last night. One way or another, the Chiefs are 4-0. The Patriots are 2-2. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.